for like 20 minutes. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. So it's good to be back here in Morris County. I feel like I never left after being in the primary with Mikey 8 years ago. And we've been so fortunate to have her representation all the way back to Fridays with Frühlingheisen, almost 8 years ago. This is an organization that has moved votes and has moved NJ11 forward, and I appreciate that. And it falls to you now to choose the next representative for this district at a time when Washington's on fire, at a time when you've got the norms and the standards and the statesmanship that we've been able to count on for almost 250 years crumbling under the weight of Trump 2.0. And you're going to hear a lot of folks here talk about what bothers them most about Trump 2.0. You're going to hear a lot of folks today make the commitment to go to Washington and be a fighter for this district. And when you hear that, I would ask you to think about the difference between promises and proof. I have a record of results standing up to Donald Trump and other Republicans and winning the tough fights. Joining the Supreme Court case against Trump when he tried to weaponize the census against immigrants. Standing up to Chris Christie to make sure that funding for roads continued into my Passaic County, where I'm from. A lot of you probably know the interchange between Route 46 and Route 3 right there by Montclair State. That was designed and it was funded when I came on the board, and Chris Christie wanted to take that all and spend it someplace else, frankly someplace where his voters were. And I stood up and I said, you can't do that, it's too important. And anybody who's driven through there recently knows that that commute is faster and safer, and that your communities are faster and safer, because that project got finished and because a whole host of other things that I accomplished from that role. I'm also a voting rights lawyer, and I want you all to know that because I think it's so important in this particular moment. I've gone toe-to-toe with the Republican Party in federal court to protect voting rights. I've trained hundreds of other lawyers to do the same thing on election day every year. And I would posit to you that we have one opportunity to make sure that the presidential election of 2028 is free and fair, and to make sure that next year's midterm elections in November is free and fair. And that's to send a voting rights lawyer to Congress with 20 years of experience in the courtroom standing up on those issues. As a county commissioner for 12 years in Passaic County, my focus has been on affordability. I brought in $960 million in federal transit funding into the 11th district over the last 12 years for projects that matter. And that has helped me lower your property taxes, for those of you from Passaic County, lower your property tax rate in Passaic County every year for the last 9 years. Let me say that again. I lowered taxes not by doing less, but by doing more and accessing new resources out of the federal government to accomplish it. That's the kind of partnership I'm used to doing from this level. It's the kind of partnership that I'm going to continue when I reach the United States Congress. I've also stood up against RFK Jr. and his cuts to our public health system. And that's something that's very personal to me because it's a lesson I learned from my father. My dad grew up in Montclair, but he was a country doctor. He drove a pickup truck with an old black doctor's bag and a chainsaw side by side in the back. And I knew that meant that nothing was going to stand between him and a patient who needed him. And that's been how I approach my public service every day. And when it comes to health coverage, we need to get serious about the cost of that, not just rolling back the big beautiful bill, but we need to stand up for a public option for healthcare coverage to lower costs for families and increase our competition so insurers know they have to cover care and not deny it. I had the privilege of attending Brown University and Harvard Law School. In between, I spent a year in Jerusalem. And if you said to yourself, where in the world would a nice Christian boy to go to find a Hindu wife? Israel, I'll bet, would not be your first guess. But that is my story. That is our story. It's what makes me part of an interfaith and interracial family. It also makes me part of an immigrant family and an immigrant community. So I take Trump's attacks on immigrants personally. I think about the concern I've had when my wife's coming back from India during the Trump administration. Is that the moment when that denaturalization idea comes to fruition? I've been elected and re-elected 5 times as a county commissioner. I've won tough primary and general elections with public service and shoe leather politics, not backroom deals. I don't make my living off the political system, and no one in my family does either. I don't trade in the stocks that I regulate as a government official, and I commit to never do so, and to support a ban on congressional stock trading, so you never have to ask yourself who I'm really working for. I'm working for you. I'm not in this for self-service. I'm in this for public service. I ask you to check out my website, come to one of the many public events I'm going to be having in the weeks ahead, and I hope I have the opportunity to earn your vote. I'm John Bartlett. Thank you very much.